and Dr. David and Sherry. I know you're doing other things. Sherry is actually the Wizard of Oz, the person behind the screen. She's the one that makes the magic happen, usually. So David and I are kind of flying solo tonight. But
Keep
hey, so far so good.
Keep your
David's
fingers
doing an excellent job. He's taken over very good as the apprentice wizard. So, but no, I tell you, I'm so impressed every time I see the group of speakers. In fact, it's kind of intimidating. It really brings me up to a higher level, because I know that the quality of the speakers that you've had on are just nothing short of amazing. Dr. Bernie Siegel, one of my mentors, and read a lot of his books, and Love Medicine Miracles, and on. And so I just am so impressed. It would take us all night just to list the speakers that you've had on. So I definitely would encourage those of you who are new to the Building Strength webinars to continue to come back, go on the list, look at maybe a subject that may be interesting. I was on the thyroid seminar, fascinating seminar last week, and very impressive speaker, and the information was very timely and just appropriate for somebody in the family that is going to have problems with that issue. And this is one of those things. Sometimes we do cardiovascular seminar as well, and so we know that everybody in the family has a heart, and everybody has family members that have had cardiovascular issues. Tonight we're going to be talking about the heart, but we're also going to be talking about the heart-brain connection. Just to give you a bit of my background, I've been in practice for 30 years. I've got a wellness center here in Longmont, Colorado, about 32 miles outside of Denver. We were the first ones to start a multidisciplinary integrative center. Early on, we had an orthopedic surgeon, a neurosurgeon, an internist, 4 physical therapists, and 4 chiropractors, me being one of those chiropractors. So that was before managed care came out and kind of mangled things. But we've kind of retuned things in terms of a wellness facility. That was a rehabilitation facility where we were doing physical rehab. We had a good group of people that brought their minds together, and we came together for the sole purpose of helping the patients, helping them to take whatever steps it needed, whether it was a psychological analysis, or whether it was a performance analysis on their back or their knee or whatever. So I learned many years ago that it takes more than one profession. It takes more than one head to really move forward in a more of a all-encompassing manner. And now this new word, wellness, is out there. It's all over the place. There's a newly formed Colorado Society for Wellness and Prevention. And if you want to go on that website, I don't have a slide of that, but if you want to write this, you probably should have a pen and paper handy, because we're going to go through a lot of stuff. We've got some good website references, and you might think of an idea, a question that you want to write down, and like Dr. David said, there's that bar on the right-hand side, and just click on that and type in your questions, and we'll be able to, hopefully in the last 15 minutes or so of the presentation, be able to answer most of your questions. So I know I'm all over the place here with my background, but as I brought together this multidisciplinary integrative wellness center, I was starting to talk about, and I'm going to give you the Colorado Society for Wellness and Prevention website. So let's do that right now. It's www.coloradowellness.com. And that'll take you to the Colorado Society for Wellness and Prevention. So it's a newly formed group. We're actually involved legislatively. We passed a wellness bill last year. We're moving forward and working on another wellness bill that'll have outcomes. So the better the outcome of the person, let's say they're going to lose weight, or they want to lower their cholesterol or get their blood sugar stabilized, the insurance company and the employer will actually allow them to take a better discount. So that's now putting teeth into this wellness bill that was passed last year, Senate Bill 1012, or actually House Bill 1012 in Colorado. So anybody that, if they know anybody in Colorado that wants to become involved more in wellness, give them my contact information, which will be the last slide on this presentation. And we're still forming the board of the Colorado Society for Wellness and Prevention. So I've always been looking at, putting time, effort, money, and energy into wellness and prevention, because we all know that that's where it's at. Waiting and treating sickness is a tough game, and that's sometimes a losing game because we all know that the #1 sign for 60% of women and 50% of men in terms of heart disease, their first symptom is death. For 60% of women and 50% of men. This is Heart Health Month, so I gotta plug that. That's a very important webinar that we do periodically on cardiovascular. So let's just jump right into why I got involved with HeartMath. You'll see in one or two slides coming up a picture of the woman that introduced me to HeartMath. In fact, her name is here. She's my fiance, Leslie Dimitrick. She's in the mental health field, and she was introduced to this company called HeartMath, and this way of basically getting feedback, biofeedback, if you will, and assessing the state of the autonomic nervous system. And we'll talk more about that as we get into this. But this company's been working for about 18 years doing research, and so I was very impressed with what she had taught me, and we decided to get licensed. And we are HeartMath providers, and it's something that it's been a really nice asset to my practice, and it directly feeds right into exactly what we're doing from a health and wellness perspective, as you'll see from this presentation.
Doc?
And yes?
Could we get that website again, please? I need to type that in. Someone was asking.
The ColoradoWellness.com. It says .org. Thank you for making me repeat it, because it's .org. ColoradoWellness.org. And that should take you to the Colorado Society for Wellness and Prevention.
Thank you. And I know we asked people to do a test and all that. Are you going to ask them about that later on?
I will. There's a slide specifically on that. Yeah.
Okay, great.
So there's my sweetheart. I love the picture together. It looks like a very stress-free couple, very happy couple. And you know, when you find your heart, when you find your person that you know that you've been looking for a lot of years, and you know it's right, you feel it in your heart, it changes everything. As they say, a change in heart changes everything. And so thank you very much, Leslie, for everything and helping me get better connected to my emotional side and my heart. So, and Leslie is not a co-presenter by voice, but a co-presenter in terms of working, because she helped me a lot. I'm not the greatest speller, so she's excellent when it comes to the details. So when you see all the little details, that's her work in the background. So, okay, so let's set the tone for tonight's webinar. I want you all to sit up in a relaxed way, but sit up. Sit back in your chair maybe. Get into a comfortable position. Bring your shoulders back a little bit. Don't like, you know, in the military posture, but just bring yourself up and just leave all the stuff that stresses you behind. We're going to focus on some helpful hints that will move ourselves a little bit closer to a good state. Not necessarily a perfect state, but a good state. And I want you to remember to breathe. I'm going to take a couple of slides in the future to help you breathe and help you just get connected to your heart and help you with that. So 5 seconds of breath in, 5 seconds of breath out. And we'll do that periodically. What that does is it helps entrain the heart, and it's really a good stress reliever. It's one of the 3 components in helping our heart-brain connect. It's called coherence, and we'll talk about that more. So, but notice when I mentioned to you, sit up and get your posture good, notice how many people actually changed because our body gets into these habits of not so good posture, maybe kind of like leaning forward, and if your head's too far forward, it's going to put a stress in your neck and shoulders. So it just feels better to get that posture. I talked about setting the bar high, and Dr. David set that bar very high when it comes to presenters. And I want to encourage other doctors out there from a point of view of what they're good at, their expertise. We're always looking for good presentations, interesting, and just on the leading edge of what's happening. So this has definitely been one to help to kind of sharpen and hone my skills in this particular area. But it's all about feeling good. There's nothing more important than you feeling better, right? When you think about this, and I'm just speaking to every one of you individually, heart to heart, human to human, spirit to spirit, there's nothing more important than us feeling good about ourselves and feeling good in general. So just with that, let's go ahead and move on. One of the things that was inspiring, I think we all need inspiration, You know, it's got that word in spirit. So we're not going to go into that side of aspect, but I do believe from a practitioner is mind, body, spirit, and you can't separate those three components. But what an inspiration these guys were, and I don't want you to do this now, so don't click on this or don't type this in your browser, because it's going to kick you out of the webinar. So after the webinar, there's only a 3-minute little thing on the Super Bowl, what inspired the New Orleans Saints at the very beginning of the season. And it took them, 43 years in one season. They went to the Super Bowl and won. So it's just www.finishstrongmovie.com. So I just wanted to give you that little inspirational bit, and it's set to the Eye of the Tiger, which is one of my favorite inspirational workout songs. So, okay, so the human heart. We typically think of the human heart as just a pump, and it is an amazing pump. It's a pump that pumps about 100,000 times a day. We don't have to think about it. Thank God it doesn't go on strike or take a total rest, because we'd be dead. Its sole purpose is to circulate blood throughout the body. But we know that research provides us with a lot more information about the heart. It's actually a 4-way communication system. This biophysical pump, 4 billion times in one lifetime, it's 48 million gallons in our lifetime of this life-giving blood. In 1 hour, it'll help. If you would equate it to raising weight, it would have enough energy to raise a ton of weight 3 feet off the ground. That's pretty amazing. That's a pretty strong muscle. If we don't think we're strong, just look at what your heart is doing every single day. So, but that's typically what we think, and then that's the end of the story, right? No. It's actually neurologic. Now, I love your quotes on Erik Erikson on this interconnectedness, and you'll see just how, you'll see that quote come to life literally. And Herman Melville's quote, he talked about 1,000 fibers. Well, back a few years ago, they didn't realize there was actually 40,000 nerve fibers in the heart. And that's one of our major connections to our brain. But it's also, the heart is also a biochemical organ. In fact, they reclassified it as a hormonal gland because of this anti-natriuretic hormone and this oxytocin, this love and this bonding hormone. We feel love in the heart, don't we? When a mother bonds to a child, it's not brain to brain, it's heart to heart. And so the fourth, of course, this is the EKG, this is the electrical signature pattern of the heart. But it's an electromagnetic organ, and the field is 60 times more in magnitude of the brain. It's actually 5,000 times greater in strength than the brain's magnetic field. And it does have the capacity to affect those around us. It has the capacity to affect every cell in our body, but it also reaches out about 8 to 10 feet from the body. And when you get that heart-brain in sync, good things start to happen. This heart-brain synchronization, that's what this topic is all about. When you look at the magnetometer, and it's a very sophisticated, very expensive piece of medical equipment that will measure magnetic lines of force, this is what it looks like when it's just a black and white picture of the electromagnetic lines of force. And it reaches outside the body somewhere between 8 to 10 feet in all directions, 360 degrees. So when you're at a party, or when you're with somebody, let's say out in public or even in a home, you can tell when they come in fairly close proximity. Oftentimes you have a feeling one way or the other. You feel like, I think I need to get to know this person. Or sometimes it's just an instinct or just a intuition. Well, that comes from the heart. And then there's other times when you say, I think I better get away from this person. And so we say that we're vibrating on the same frequency and that type of thing. And that's actually a biophysical thing. We're just now starting to understand this and starting to measure it. So the heart's electromagnetic field is by far the most powerful rhythmic field produced by the human body. It actually envelops the whole body. It affects every cell in the body. I mentioned to you it's also measured several feet away from the body by these magnetometers. So the research is continuing to move forward at the Institute of Heart Math to suggest that this field has an important signal or carrier of information, and they actually believe that it can transmit information, and that's kind of getting off into the woo 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 type of thing. But we know that time and space doesn't really make a difference, whether it's distance or time. you can connect with somebody. If you're close to that person, your hearts are connected, you love each other, that you feel that connection, and oftentimes you're synchronized. We feel it every day. Leslie and I have that synchronization pattern that it's a sign every single day. And so I won't go into more detail about that, but that's something that's fascinating. It's actually taking place on a global basis as well. There's satellites, there's large instruments that are able to read the coherence patterns of large populations, which is just fascinating. I won't go into detail, but you can go on the heartmath.org and look at the Global Coherence Project and learn more information about that. So what this is not is a HeartMath training webinar. They do a really good job of training. We went out and we took a 3-day intensive. We also took a 4-hour Voyage to Heart Intelligence course. We did a number of readings, kind of a preliminary thing, and then we went out and did our 3-day intensive licensure, and then the rest of it is just experience, one-on-one experience. So this should say we are both licensed one-on-one providers. I think I said that on the first slide. But we talk about it. This is what this webinar is all about, is how I particularly advocate stress solutions to my patients. We're not giving medical advice, etc. You know all the disclaimers about that. So if you have any concerns, seek out licensed healthcare provider. This is HeartMath's mission, Institute of HeartMath. It is to establish heart-based living. In this, I mentioned this Global Coherence Project to inspire people to connect with the intelligence and guidance of their own heart. A lot of people, I think, we think about this, oh, I should have listened to my heart, or I should have listened to my consciousness, or my intuition, etc. And that's a real thing. And these guys are really taking that to quite a level, and it's quite an in-depth process of. But yet it's a fairly simple process, because it's just simply connecting with the heart, helping our heart-brain become connected. So these neural communication pathways between the heart and the brain, I mentioned to you there's 40,000 neurons. These groups of neurons are called ganglia. There's a number of different types, so they call them sensory neurites. They're distributed throughout the heart. Again, there's a total of about 40,000 they've identified so far. They're both inside the heart and also outside the heart, and they go both ways to the brain, and then the electromagnetic signal to the brain and back. The electromagnetic signal then doesn't need a pathway to follow. It's just exactly what it says it is. It's a magnetic pathway that actually impacts every cell in the body. Now, some of you may really love this slide, and some of you may say, what the heck is this thing? It's a schematic. The brain is on the top, the cortex and the medulla and so on. The spinal cord, this is basically just showing the schematic of the connection. The sinoatrial node and the atrioventricular node, those are the pacemakers that set the pace for the upper part and the lower part of the heart. You've got this local circuitry. But then you've got these sympathetics and these parasympathetics that are like the accelerators and the brakes, generally speaking. Sympathetics speed up heart rate, speed up breathing, constrict the pupils, get us ready for that flight, that fight or flight type of thing that we oftentimes think about when we're stressed. This vagus nerve, it's the 10th cranial nerve, and it innervates most of the organs, internal organs. And so this is one of the reasons why chiropractors have a major impact on function of the body in many ways, because we directly affect this communication system. So when you look at this supply of nerves in the autonomic nervous system, when you think about how important this is, this speeding up and slowing down process, if there's problems not only in the brain but also problems in the spine and even outside the spine, you've got problems there, because you're basically having a hard time controlling the accelerators and the brakes. That's kind of putting it simply, but to have a proper function of this autonomic nervous system, it's so important, and that's one of the reasons why people come in and they just generally feel better when they're adjusted. We call it an adjustment to the chiropractor, because we help to balance this central nervous system, brain and spinal cord, and then the autonomic system and the peripheral nervous system, which is outside the central nervous system. But we are also understanding that these emotions that we're going to be talking about, all emotions, greatly influence the activity of the autonomic nervous system and therefore the balance between these two branches. So here's another kind of a schematic that shows that there's that on the left-hand side, generally speaking, the sympathetic nervous system speeds up the heart rate. The adrenaline is secreted when you hear screeching tires. You better have that sympathetic nervous system in gear, and it's going to help dilate blood vessels to the muscles, whereas the parasympathetic does just the opposite. Slows down the heartbeat. That's what you need to be dominant when you're sleeping. When you're eating, when you're sitting down at the dinner table, you don't want to be, heartbeat racing and stressed and arguing and all that, because it's going to decrease the secretion of your intestinal enzymes and things like that, pancreatic enzymes. And so, okay. So let's just go into briefly. I had way too much information about stress, and it was kind of like negative. And so I thought, well, we're not going to spend a lot of time on stress, but it's obviously an important topic. A lot of us think stress is negative. But when you think about the biological point of view, it can be either neutral, negative, or positive. Our latest developed part of our brain, called the neocortex, is actually adapted better than most species to stress. And what that means is basically we can choose how we react to change. And sometimes when change comes rapidly, we call it stress, but that's actually one of the things that's helped us to adapt. If you don't have any stress factors, there's no reason to adapt. And so Epictetus went to school with him just back in 55 AD. I'm just kidding, I'm not that old, but he said it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And that says so much right there. And of course, that was a few years ago. And now we're starting to understand this emotional reaction. So is all stress bad? Well, it depends on, again, how you react to it. But we have these powerful hormones that prepare us for action, the adrenaline and the cortisol. And the cortisol, thank goodness we have cortisol, because we wouldn't be able to get going and get up in the morning, and because sometimes mornings can be stressful. In fact, your cortisol levels are highest in the morning, and it's normal for that to occur. But if cortisol is high all day long, that's bad news. That's going to wear yourself down. The same thing with adrenaline. So it's our response, if our response to stress isn't appropriate, if it's exaggerated one way or the other, you're going to have problems, and it can accelerate all disease processes. So exactly how does stress affect health? Physically, mentally, emotionally, it affects us in all ways. The American Institute of Stress said that 90% of all health problems are related to stress. Psychology was my minor, and that's obviously what Leslie focuses on every single day of her work life, is the adverse effects of stress. She works in the emergency room in the psych department, and she sees the direct result of stress on the emotions and the resultant chaos that creates. So, but when you're looking at heart disease, high blood pressure, strokes, depression, sleep disorders, diabetes, immune system depression, a whole bunch of things, and it literally affects us, our whole body, and affects us in all ways. It impacts the immune system. I know this is a busy slide, so I'm sorry about that, but it's important to understand when you look at this recent study, they study these emotions of anger and the emotions of care, and also the resulting antibody secretory IgA, immunoglobulin A, was measured. That was a measuring kind of the yardstick for what these two emotions can create. We know that it's a very important, the immunoglobulin A is very important in the first line of defense. It's a protective coating for the cells about invading bacteria, etc. And we know that stress can decrease IgA levels. And so it makes us more susceptible to respiratory problems. So it basically depresses our immune system. So just being angry causes a 6-hour depression or suppression of the immune system. And then the feeling of care actually accelerates that. So Bernie Siegel and some of these other individuals that have been on the leading edge of this psychoneuroimmunology, that's a proof right there. We didn't know back many years ago that some of these things were changing. Well, now we know, and we're continuing to move forward in this area. Okay, so here's, David asked, how did you guys do, or we did send out to a lot of people this stress and well-being survey, and I know a lot of you didn't. There's a place, and maybe David, you can tell me, maybe give me a percentile or so if you can. Just click that little box where it says raise your hand at actually how many did the stress and well-being survey. we're not gonna single anybody out. We're not gonna mention any names or anything. But I just kind of wanted to know, did you take the stress and well-being survey? It was actually a free survey. Now, if you didn't take it, don't do it now. It takes about maybe 15 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes, maybe if you're really fast. Do it. So write down. Oops. It says you are muted.
No, you're still on, Doc.
Oh, okay. I'll stop talking when it says I'm muted.
Well, what I did was I made you a presenter, so you can actually see the percentage and the number of people who responded. So,
okay.
Folks, if you need to, you can just click. I think there's somewhere on your name you can actually click and say raise your hand or something, and then we can find out. We can see the response. Sherry does this a lot better than I do, obviously.
Yeah, and we're not going to put a lot of time on this particular, but I do want to stress, I do want to emphasize rather, the fact that I'm just trying to figure out how I can see, because it's going to be real easy to get a percentile because of the number of people that are on this call. But anyway, we'll maybe come back to that later. But and again, we're not going to go into details about, if you weren't happy with your stress and well-being survey, well, I apologize for that, but it's a good feedback tool. And so just go to heartmath.org, and I want you to, again, don't do it now, but listen to the introductory audiovisual segment. They'll talk about the stress and well-being. I think it's only a couple minutes long, heartmath.org. And then go back into the heartmath.org/research, and on the left-hand side, listen to the introduction to that stress and well-being survey. So you kind of get a feel for the comprehensiveness of this survey, and it's just you. They're not going to reveal it to anybody. Nobody at HeartMath will know that it's you. It's all private, which I love that. It's like the computer and you, and so it's really a good comprehensive, as much as they can do, I think, from a comprehensive standpoint in multiple areas in terms of, finances, relationship, physical, symptoms of illness and things like this. And it really gives you a kind of a picture, a well-rounded picture of how stress in many areas of our life is impacting us. So that was just a kind of gift from me and from HeartMath to you. And there's also, and when you go on that, they will give you some free things too. If you want to just get their newsletters, you can. There's just tons of stuff on that website. And so, but if you just click start, you'll see a demo, but you do have to register, and it's a free registration. And if you want to just stop getting information from you, just tell them take you off the list, and they'll do that. So, but I did want to spend a little bit of time and just emphasize. I tell you what, I took the stress and well-being survey just a couple of nights ago, and I learned some things. I learned a few things. I kind of suspected it, but I got an actual number that I can actually use as a measuring tool. And then you can come back to it 3 months, 6 months, or whenever. It'll keep your score private between you and your computer, and then you can come back to it and you can recheck it and see how you're doing. It actually gives you suggestions. Hey, if you've got an area that you're a little bit too high a score in stress, it actually compares you against several thousand people. I think it was like 10,000 people, something like that. So that was a pretty good sized number that it wasn't using your score, but it said if you scored, let's say 50, well, there was 50% of the people that were below you and 50% were higher than you. That's just one example. If you scored in a low number, and we're talking about stress now, so you don't want to have a high stress score. So if you scored pretty low, then that's a good sign. But if you scored pretty high, you started getting into the red zone. That's something that you need to look at and need to take a look at it, how you're reacting to some of these issues. And so anyway, okay, let's move
now,
forward
Doc,
here. Yeah.
That seems to me like more of a snapshot of what the person's going through. Would you say there's a better time of the day to do the test now so that it can give a more accurate reading so that people, or is it regardless of the time of day that gives the test results give an idea of what is going on on the person's life over a period of time, or
you know, it's a good question, and it's not really kind of like cortisol. You know, we know cortisol is higher in the morning and all that. That's not what this is looking at. Kind of a global, like, how do you typically respond to let's just pick one example, financial stressing or financial bill paying or whatever. How do you, they have a number of series of questions in that particular category. And so it's not like, how was your bank account today? Or, you know, how was your, how did you pay all your bills this month? It was not that. It was just kind of more of a globally of how you score in that particular area. So it's, I don't think it would matter. Obviously, you want to make sure you're well awake. You don't want to be taking it while you're sleeping or while you're extremely tired either. So, you know, that's kind of up to the individual when they want to take the test. But
okay.
Now, I may have clicked on the wrong button here, but I'm trying to advance forward, and for some reason, my screen seems to be locked up.
It seems to be frozen. Could you try right-clicking on it and seeing if that works?
Let me just open that. Oh, there we go. Okay. Now, let's go back. When I clicked on the screen, there we go. Okay. I think we're in good shape now. So, well, there's a good reason to study stress, and again, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but it's a major problem. $300 billion in lost productivity in industry. That's according to the American Institute of Stress. And it focuses, and I know Dr. David has covered this very well in some of his neuroendocrine seminars, but this desynchronization that our autonomic nervous system, how it impacts in an adverse way our hormones, we typically say, well, something's not right today. My timing is off. I'm not my usual self. I'm having a bad day. My game is off. And athletes know when they're out of the zone, not in the zone. They know it. They feel it. Their game is on. There's like their timing is good. Their reactions are great, and they're thinking good. And that's because the autonomic nervous system regulates about 90% of our body functions. So it's a very important thing to help our body synchronize, and that's what we're going to talk about. Okay, what can I do about being stressed out? Now, this is a very important subject, and it's really how we can control stress. And here it is. This is a very important screen here, so make sure you're taking good notes on this. You don't look like this on Valentine's Day. Sorry about that. I had to throw that in there. That's a very stressful picture for me. It's really not how I look, but Leslie sent that to me as a joke, and I said, okay, I got to use that somehow. So here's seriously a few examples. Exercise. It's a great way to reduce stress. Relaxation techniques, there's a number of them out there. I love, especially when it's cold in Canada, hot tubbing, meditation techniques, spiritual healing, time management, social support, and then intelligent supplementation. We know that adrenal support and things like that are very helpful in helping our body physiologically handle stress. There's one of the ways I handle stress. We got a lot of snow this winter, and so I love cross-country skiing, and so that's about 45 minutes from my backyard, so up in the Rocky Mountains. So all of these things are helpful to one degree or another, but the real question is, how do we react to these? How do we feel about these stressful events? It's these feelings, it's these emotions that really determine that reactivity and the result of whether you're stressed out. So we know that these emotions, whether they're good or bad emotions, have a powerful effect on the body. Rene Dubois said, what happens in the mind of man is always reflected in the diseases of his body. And that was a few years ago. And so a lot of quotes, you know, to be able to kind of focus on this same thing. We're going to go more a little in depth into the science. So this is just it's a breathing break. Just imagine you're in this environment and take your posture, bring your posture back up. Sometimes, you know, your body is kind of slumped down, and Bring those shoulders back. Take some breaths. 5 seconds of breath in, 5 seconds of breath out. Focus on the area around your heart. And the next component that we teach with heart math is an emotional component, and that's focusing on the emotion that you want. Now, if you're an athlete, you don't want to focus on relaxing and going to sleep or whatever. You want to focus on, a peak moment. And so there's a big difference between what heart math teaches. It's not about relaxation. It's about getting synchronized. And so positive emotions like appreciation, care, love, not only feel good, but they're also health promoting. And the reason is because they have direct access to the central nervous system, and they help the body's organ systems become synchronized or coherent. Here's one way to become synchronized. Not only closeness with a good friend, but just laughter. You're breathing, it creates these endorphins, and they say that as we get older, we don't laugh as often. And so I think that's something that we need to kind of get back at and just take some time off. Don't be so serious. Don't take yourself so serious. Have fun. And so several ways of handling stress, socially, emotionally, strengthen close relationships, practice forgiveness and gratitude, become involved in work that's in line with what you love to do. And these things I think are so important it's easier for me to say them. I know it's tough to do sometimes if you're in a work. It's amazing to me how I see people coming into my practice and they hate what they do. They're stuck because they think, well, that's it. That's all I've been trained to do, and they just don't feel like they can get out of it, and they're unhappy, and they're miserable. They're stressed. They're unhealthy oftentimes. And so, okay, Heart Math gives us a disclaimer. They have developed a highly successful program for self-improvement, both with mental, emotional, and physical balance. And the technology and the materials, we're going to be showing some of these, are not meant for replacement for medical or psychological conditions by licensed physicians, psychologists, or other healthcare professionals. So, but it's a great way to be able to get actually direct feedback on the balance of your autonomic nervous system. We'll talk about some of the tools that we use in this particular technology. Okay, so we talked about coherence, and we talk about, we're going to define it in just a little bit, but when you look at the technology and you look at this little machine called the M-Wave PC, it's a personal computer. There's also a little portable unit that does not show this these waveforms. The little portable unit gives you a tone and a color, but this particular one actually turns your computer into a biofeedback device. And you can see, oftentimes what I do is I just say, okay, I don't even explain anything to them. I say, we're going to measure your nervous system. I clip the little clip to their ear or put it on their finger, and I just say, just watch the wave. Just look at it. Just sit there, normally breathe. We're only going to do this for a couple minutes. And oftentimes what shows up is this incoherent, this jagged lines that are all over the place. There's no rhythm. And then I say, all right, now I want you to focus on area around your heart. Focus on your breathing, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. Focus on some good emotions, emotion of caring, love, appreciation. And it is just like flipping a switch. I'm not kidding. Oftentimes it's about this dramatic. And when they look at a synchronized pattern, and this is what we call heart rate variability, and that's what the technology does. Now, for those of you who've heard of our webinars on the digital pulse wave analyzer measuring cardiovascular flexibility in the arteries, that one also measures heart rate variability as well. So those people that are certified in digital pulse wave analysis, like we are as well, you can actually measure the autonomic nervous system, and it's just called heart rate variability. It's a little bit similar, a little bit different measuring tool, but it measures the same thing. I just wanted to work that in there because a lot of you that have been on this call have listened to that digital pulse wave. The DPA, Dr. Harry, has done webinars on cardiovascular health, and so that's one of our measuring tools there. But so coherent heart rhythms are very regular, very rhythmic, and people can feel it instantly. And it's pretty amazing when you can teach them to get control of their emotions, and it's just a matter of simple practice. But I think one of the most important things is feedback. understanding when you're in that state. Okay, here's another breathing break. Make sure your posture is good. Sit back, shoulders back, but relaxed. Head right over your shoulders. Breathing 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. Now, we've had a chance about 2 or 3 times to do this. Notice what happens to your body in between these. You start to go back into the patterns of incoherence. Now, I don't know that for a fact, but I measure hundreds of individuals in their heart rate variability, and it's fairly normal to see them in that incoherent pattern. But it's just a matter of practice. It's like posture. Posture is practice, right? The more you get into a good posture. So this is a good little scene. Just like, wow, that water is just so peaceful. It'd be just a great place to be meditating by. So, okay. So what does coherence actually do? We know that when you synchronize body systems, it helps mental focus, clarity, energy, creativity. It's pretty amazing what happens when you start opening up things in terms of your capability of problem solving. Some things that you just would not have thought about had you not put yourself in that mental state of coherence. And there's a ton of other things that it helps. We have a lot of powerful forces in nature. And this is one of my favorite, looking at the power of the wind and the power of the waves and the sunlight. It's just, it really kind of, I just love these sunset pictures. And as we get towards the end of our webinar, we're going to start seeing that sun continue to go down lower and lower. And so, but we have a lot of these powerful forces, but really it's the inside forces. Those outside forces, yeah, those are important, but it's the inside forces that Hippocrates said are the true healers. And when you help that synchronization process, you know, physician heal thyself type of thing, it's like we got to take care of our own heart, our own spirit, and then our direct, immediate relationships. And then as we do that, we can start to impact others in a profound way. And that's one of the missions of the Institute of Heart Math, is to be able to impact you, then your friends, then your local community, and then your country, and then the globe. And so you can read that, what their mission is on their website. So the research they've been doing for about 16 years at HeartMath, and it's not just HeartMath, it's a number of other institutions that are pooling their resources together to show that when you have this intention of shifting into a positive motion, your heart rhythms immediately change. I mentioned before, it's like flipping a switch. It's called cortical facilitation. When you're in that negative state, that state that I showed, that oftentimes is very common to see people in, that incoherent state, it's somewhat normal. I'm sad to say that, but a lot of people are just non-synchronized, and they're bouncing around from one stressful event to another, and that's called cortical inhibition. And when you're angry, when you're sad, when you're depressed, when you've got all these so-called negative emotions, you're not thinking very good. And you know, it's pretty obvious when people try and attempt suicide. They're not thinking great. They're inhibiting their cortex, and the brain, the thinking brain, just starts to diminish. Doc Childrey, who's the founder of the Institute of Heart Math, said that since this emotional process can work faster than the mind, it actually takes a power stronger than the mind to bend the perception and override this emotional circuitry and provide us with this intuitive feeling instead. It takes the power of the heart. Men, I know, don't typically talk about intuition and things of the heart as well as women do, because we were totally raised differently. You know, it's like the men are from Mars, women are from Venus type of thing that I think it was Gary Smalley wrote. And it is amazing how sometimes we can think we're communicating, but we're not understanding. You know, we're talking Martian and Venetian type of language. And so, but when you connect up with the heart and you speak from the heart, and you connect emotionally, not only with yourself, but then also with others, it's pretty amazing what can happen. So what is coherence? It actually implies order, structure, harmony, alignment within and across all organ systems. There's several ways of defining coherence: clarity of thought, emotional balance, synchronization between multiple systems, and then this ordered patterning. And that's from this monograph called The Science of the Heart. I'm going to have a recommended book reading list at the end here too. So there's several different types of coherence. There's physiological coherence, and then there's psychophysiological coherence. Obviously, one of them is purely physical, heart rhythm coherence, increased sympathetic, parasympathetic activity, multiple organ systems functioning in this synchronous manner. And then the psychophysical, that's where you start talking about this sustained positive emotion. That's where practicing this, and you don't have to have the biofeedback tools. They just help. But just practicing this and sustaining this. Maybe one of the worst things that we know going to bed, when you just got through watching world news and reading the headlines, and that's just not a good way to prepare yourself for good, restful, recuperative sleep. And I think we've all done that. You've argued, and you try and go to sleep, and it's not going to happen because your sympathetic nervous system is all wound up, and you're going to lay there and get more frustrated. So sometimes just breathing, focusing on the heart, taking that 5 seconds of breath in and out if you're having some difficulty with getting to sleep in a reasonable amount of time, and then focusing on those things like a sandy, warm beach, maybe your best vacation, or maybe a pet or a loved one, and focusing on those things that help that good emotion. That'll connect up, and fairly rapidly. I just telling one of my patients today that 5 seconds of breath in, 5 seconds of breath out, that's the count of 1. Then 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, count of 2. I've never gotten to 20 before I'm just totally out, sleeping. And it's a great way to prepare your body and your mind and your mind, body, spirit type of thing for good, positive, restful sleep. So, okay, here we go. Sun's getting closer to the to the ocean. We're getting close to the end of the presentation. So, change your posture, change your breathing, relax, but take that breathing in, breathing out. 5 seconds of breath in, 5 seconds of breath out. And just feel that tension. Just feel that tension relax. And again, if you're in a good posture, it feels better to be that way than in the state that you were right before I reminded you of that that postural change. So a new specialty was needed to understand this heart-brain connection. It's called neurocardiology, and that's fascinating. We're not going to go into the details of that, but the reading there is just incredible, and it literally is groundbreaking research that helped us establish. And we've known for years that the heart is a sensory organ, but we haven't really admitted it. We've said things like, well, what does your heart tell you about it? Or follow your heart, or how do you feel about that deep inside? Dr. David mentioned our gut brain. Well, sometimes that's where it occurs too. You have a gut feeling about something, and there is a group of neurons that we call it the solar plexus, but it's a whole group of neurons that help us connect our gut to our brain as well, and it is literally called the gut brain. But the heart brain, we know, is a very powerful connection, and we know that the heart brain, that connectivity, can help us learn, feel, sense, remember independently of the cranial brain. This is pretty fascinating, and so you'll just have to continue to move in that pathway and helping you to understand that connection. We're not going to be able to go into all the details because you can't catch up on 15, 16 years of research in one evening. But we know our emotions drive the brains and our hormones into either a coherent state or a chaotic state. And we know that appreciation, care, and love, you're not feeling them in your brain. You're feeling them right in the heart, right in the center of that chest. And so this whole neuroendocrine system and many other systems are synchronized by these type of emotions. So we mentioned a few things already about how can you create and practice coherence. There's a unit that's called an M-Wave PC. It just connects up to your personal computer. Electromagnetic wave is what that stands for. And then this little portable unit is called a personal stress reliever, rather. And these are both designed to help you prevent, manage, and actually reverse the effects of too much stress. So these are what the units look like. On the lower right-hand side is the little handheld PSR, and you can put your thumb on that little red bar there. The middle fatter one, the left-hand side, where you can see the green and the red up above. There's lights that go on, and you can actually start adding your coherence scores. And it's got a little bit. It's kind of a little bit of a game that, as you keep yourself in a good coherent state, you'll stay in the green zone. But if you allow yourself to shift over, or if you just find yourself in that stressful state of incoherence, or some people call it low coherence, then you'll start shifting into the yellow and then to the red. And the game is to keep yourself in the green. That's the little portable unit. I think it's a couple $100. We can help you with if a person wants those units. We have discounts. Leslie and I do, and we can help you get it at a lower cost. Then you can buy them directly through the Institute of Heart Math. But because we're one-on-one providers, we can get discounts. And then the large screen is from the PC unit. And it literally is just a little software disk you plug in, you load up your computer, and you have a little clip. That's the only hardware you have. You have a clip that plugs into your USB port, and it then, you just watch the lines. You kind of follow the heart rate variability, and your goal is to stay in the zone. And it has these coherent scores. It's always 100%. Your low, medium, and high score is always going to add up to 100% because you're in one state or the other all the time. So the goal is to help you shift into that high state. And the more you do it, just like working out, the habit of working out, you do it over and over and over, you tend to stay into that habit. And it is very difficult to break that habit, like brushing your teeth. That's a pretty strong habit. Neurologically, we've created such a strong habit. It's like a metal band. You'll never break that. But if you only do something once or twice, it's a very thin strand, and that may not stay in terms of a developed habit. So it's the same thing with practicing coherence. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. There's different challenge levels. There's different games, and kids have a blast with this thing because you could play all kinds of games, a pot of gold and the rainbow type of thing, and so on. So okay, let's move on. Christiane Northrup. I think a lot of people understand what an impact this woman had on women's health in her body, or her body of work, her book called Women's Bodies, Women's Wisdom. And she said, nearly every disease or illness I've ever treated in 2 decades of medical practice have been improved or even cured, would have been improved or cured had my patients known or had access to the physical power of the heart's intelligence. She understands heart math, and she talks a lot about the power of the heart. She says it's like the owner's manual we've been waiting for to help us recognize how to use our heart's energy to help heal our bodies and our lives. Now, I took this, and Bernie, forgive me if I did a little paraphrasing, but I loved your quote, and I just kind of made it mine, but I'm giving you credit for it. So when one handles the feelings of anger, despair, depression, or chronic pain or stress in an effective manner, wellness will naturally be the result. But on the other hand, if we don't deal with our emotional needs properly, we set ourselves up for physical illness. And the simple truth is that happy people generally stay healthy. And so, again, thank you so much, Bernie. You're just very much of an inspiration to me. Thank you, David, for having him on. And again, I just applaud you for the work that Dr. Bernie, that you're doing, and Dr. David, that the format and the forum that those of us that are out there teaching can have in presenting on this Building Strength webinars. So getting down towards the end here, Institute of Heart Math Research Center is committed to increasing the world's body of scientific knowledge, promoting heart-based living. And this Global Coherence Project I mentioned, that's a very important project that you can connect up with on the HeartMath website, heartmath.org. The mental, physical, emotional, spiritual well-being of the greater community of human beings. So these are just a wonderful group of people. Leslie and I we just wanted to hang out with them. They're in Boulder Creek, California, in the heart of the redwoods, just a beautiful setting, and wow, what an experience to go out there. And we had to prepare ourselves. We had to take this. It was actually a 4 1-hour bit, 4-hour course, but we did it 1 hour at a time with another one-on-one trained provider out in Illinois. We've still never met her, but she was very well trained, and we were very impressed with it. And then we went out, did our reading, did our homework, and then went out and did the 3-day intensive. Okay, getting closer. we're getting down to the end here, and we'll take some questions. Bill Thompson, the executive editor of Natural Health magazine, said that this change in heartbeat produces chemical and electrical changes in the body. If it were a pill, it would be called the most important medical discovery of the century. And some think it may be, in any case, this natural discovery, these natural rhythms of the heart. Okay, so here's some of the last slides here. Doc Childrey, the founder of HeartMath, Howard Martin co-founded the HeartMath Solution. It's a really good book, an easy one to get through. You can find it in paperback. I think you can find it on any of the bookstores, electronic bookstores. From Chaos to Coherence. That's a really good book because it really describes what sometimes we find ourselves in, the state of chaos. And let's help to make that shift into a more coherent state. So Dr. Childrey and Bruce Cryer wrote that one. There's a small little booklet that oftentimes we take people through. It's a workbook and a little manual, little booklet called Transforming Stress, the HeartMath Solution for Relieving Worry, Fatigue, and Tension by Deborah Rosman and Doc Childrey. There's a lot of ebooks. I just listed the one. It's called The Science of the Heart. There's a ton of scientific material out there. I mentioned one of the first courses that we took was the Voice to Heart Intelligence. It's a telephonic course that you take with a one-on-one trained HeartMath provider. Okay, I think we're about down to the wire here. So what we do and how we use it is to help companies reduce absenteeism. We all know what that is. It's just people being sick, out of work. You know, they can't come into work. But presenteeism is a new word. And presenteeism is you're there, but the lights are home, but nobody's there. You know, the people show up for work, but they're really not there. You know, they probably shouldn't have come in, but because of this economic day and age, it's like they show up and they're maybe helping to make other people sick too, but they're just not with it. And that's a problem because they can get injured, they're non-productive, etc. We help companies when they connect up with this system of stress reduction and biofeedback, help reduce the turnover rate. I know Swedish Hospital, and that's how Leslie got trained, because nursing can be, especially in the emergency room, a very stressful and high turnover area, and that's what they were using it for up in at the Alberta Healthcare up in Calgary and down in Denver at Swedish Medical. So we can also help to increase productivity, because when people are there, when they're actually present and they're more aware of what's going on, they're not going to get injured, and oftentimes, as we mentioned, their immune system is going to function at a higher level. So it's all about that wellness, and let's stop this roller coaster of escalating healthcare costs that we find ourselves in. And so that's what this particular department called Stress Solutions at my office does. I think it's the last slide. Yes, it says the end. So, and this just describes the things that I've already talked about, this telecourse. My contact information is there if you have any questions about this webinar or other questions. Website lists a number of other things that we do, and then my email. So feel free to send me feedback on this presentation. And I think we're going to probably take a few questions. If you guys have specific questions, if you haven't already written them out, then let me see if I can work this technology. I'm going to click on questions.
Absolutely. Doc, thank you so much. Yeah, I think you should be able to see the questions, but if you don't mind, I'm just going to do a quick announcement. I'll just take it back from you briefly.
Sure.
So if you would just leave that slide up, I'll just take it back. I'll give it back to you in a second. Okay. Hello, folks. Thank you again, Dr. Summey. That's fantastic.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay. Just wanted to let you know, especially for those of you who are just joining us, these webinars are all recorded. For most of them, our presenters let us use their slides and create handouts out of them. We don't give the slides themselves out, but the handouts we do. And so you can, if you want to use these handouts afterwards, they are available. And again, they're free for members, as well as the PowerPoints and the MP3s. We do not typically give out the slides to give out the recordings to non-members. So just so you know about that. And again, that's to to help keep these things going. The I think what I want to also announce is that tomorrow we will be doing a meeting with affiliates, and basically that means is that people who are willing to help promote our philosophy and our tools and resources, and they, of course, get a good commission for doing that. So if you are interested, just send us an email, and we will include you in the list tomorrow. All right, I'm just going to hand this back to Dr. Summey. And again, Dr. Summey, these are slides. I have to say, my suspicion is that someone whose name starts with the letter L must have really helped you with these slides, because these are beautifully well done. They're beautiful. I mean, you've done a couple of webinars for us before, but these are it's great.
Well, see, now you have the difference between that heart-to-heart connection here, because I'm like well, maybe not like a bull in a china shop, but when I'm doing presentations, I can just like blam, bam, bam, and slam things in there. They're all over the place, and so I gotta really thank Leslie for just kind of holding my feet to the fire and saying, you know what, we can do better here. Let's look at this. Oh, we got a little correction here, and so anyway, so yeah, I agree that. But again, I think that looking at the bar has been set high. You've got some wonderful speakers, and it just makes me try that much harder. And of course, Leslie's a great editor, and she just does a wonderful job of being able to look at it, look at the color schemes, and say, you know what, that just doesn't look right, or hey, that's fantastic. Yeah, let's go with that. And so, yeah, so that's why I included her name. She didn't want me to put her name at the very beginning, but I said, hey, listen, you're a co-creator of this program, and of course we just love co-creating things together too. So.
Well, thank you very much, Leslie. I know you can hear me, so thank you so much. This is really good. Okay, so are you able to access the questions?
Well, I looked at, let's see, let me just open. I don't see any, maybe I just, was it so intimidating that, can you see anybody that has questions? Because I don't see it right now.
Oh, yeah. What you need to do is, if you look to the right, you should see polls, invite others, chats. There should be a questions box there somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, next to the cross, the cancellation.
Yeah, it's got that little arrow.
Yeah. Click on that. That should open it up.
Yeah, I did, but I'm not seeing, unless I'm just not looking. Oh, here we go. I got it. I wasn't bringing up in the views. I know there was an audio problem with was that early on in the presentation?
Yeah, I think that's been fixed for some people, yeah. And you can expand that question box by just taking the cursor to the edges and pulling it apart, and then that you can extend it, and you can just
there you go. Okay, good.
Both ways, left, sideways, and up and down. Okay.
Yep, got it. Okay. All right. Let's just take a look here. These are just like technical questions at the very beginning. I know. Yeah. One of the things that I did too was I thought this is really brilliant, and on my part, actually, it was kind of stupid, because from the number of presentations that I've done, you go along and you work, and I had a pretty full day today in my practice, and I thought, why don't I invite my patients to come on? And so thank you for those of you who came in today and you got my invitation. I did send out an email to my group as well, so I want to welcome the members of my practice, the patients. This is the first time I've really officially gone out there, and because, hey, this is what we do. We do these presentations on a fairly regular basis, and this is the kind of technology that I have. But a lot of times when people come into my office, they come in, they get an adjustment, they get a massage, they do some laser, and they don't realize all the different things that we do in the practice. And this is just such a simple technology. You put it on clip it on your ear, you watch it on the screen, and you see what your balance of your autonomic nervous system is. So, okay, I'm just looking through the questions here. Yeah, I'm just again looking at the very beginning of the challenge with the speaker. Apparently, either my headset or something was going on with the quality of the. Okay. Oh, somebody wanted to put the slide up of Bernie Siegel, and so let's see if I can. I may have to do a little. Oh, you know what? Did you make me a presenter, or do you have to do that? David? Oh, here we go. Okay. Let's see if I can get my questions off the screen here. There we are. Okay. So I'll just leave that one up there, and let me expand the questions again. I just got through minimizing them. All right. David, if you want to jump in, if you can get to some of these questions faster than me, then somebody was asking, is membership free or does it cost something? I assume that was the Colorado Society for Wellness and Prevention. It's right now we are actually looking for people in Colorado to become more involved. We're actually searching out people that want to just become members in the wellness community, and they're actually looking at price structure right now. I think I think it's around like $125 for a membership, and you can actually pool together maybe 2 or 3 people if they're either in one office or if you want to joint venture with somebody and then share the cost on one membership. And but the board member, it should say so on the website, coloradowellness.org. They're the second Tuesday. This last one is going to be down, or the next one is going to be down in Denver at Phil Long Ford, which was formerly Saturn dealership down in Littleton. So, but it's, yeah, you can come to the board meeting. It's not going to cost anything for you to attend the board meeting. If you're a wellness provider, you don't have to be in the medical or naturopathic, or you could be a genetic key certified, or you can be a nutritionist. There was a lot of massage therapists. I'm in charge of the alternative, complementary alternative healthcare division, which includes naturopaths, chiropractors, massage therapists, and nutritionists. And so, but it's about 3 o'clock. I think it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Tuesday. So, but the membership does cost some. It's not a very high, not a very costly membership, but it's something that we're in the formative stages right now. So it's not going to cost anybody to come down and just sit in on that board membership. Yeah, and then there's how do you become a member? I assume that is the Colorado Society for Wellness and Prevention. Or is it, let's see, no, this is Karen, I think, is asking about the Building Strength webinar membership.
Okay. Well,
did you answer that?
I answered one of them. I'm just throw this out again. Basically, all you need to do is go to our website, buildingstrengthwebinars.com. We are doing a promotion that will end at the end of February. It's still $15 now, and that gives you access to everything released in the last 30 days. And we're talking about at least 10 webinars where you can get the entire 1.5 to 2 hour long presentations, you get the MP3s, you get the handouts, all for free for that same amount, which is pretty much a good deal. After February 28th, it goes up to $27, and we will make an announcement on that soon. Okay, Doc. Doc, I want to ask you a question real quick. So we have an idea. We can look. Basically, you've shown us how the instruments work. So somebody finds out, he does the test, and he has an idea of how his heart and the system is working. Now, what happens next? Does he, if it's out of coherence or incoherent, does he have to meditate or think? I mean, how does he get it back into coherence? Are there tools that are available through HeartMath? Yeah, thank you for sharing that picture. Are there tools available through HeartMath? Oh, okay, you want to talk about that?
These are the tools, and the little handheld on the lower right-hand corner is called the M-Wave, and it's actually a personal stress reliever. I'm sorry, personal stress reliever, and that I think it's $200. You buy it from the company, and I think we can knock off 10 or 15, maybe up to 20%, buying it through our office. And then the software that runs on your desktop, then it literally turns your screen, your computer, into a biofeedback device. So, yeah, that's the main way of, and I really recommend that one. You have all the buzzers and whistles on the M-Wave PC unit, and that software is about 300, and again we can knock off about 15-20%, I believe, on that one. And so that one's got the games on there. It actually has a lot of research, and you can look into it, get a lot of background understanding besides going on the website, heartmath.org. But yeah, so that one tells you, like you can see on the screen here, at the very left-hand side, the wave pattern is more incoherent, more jagged, and all over the place. And as that person goes through those 3 things that we teach, and oftentimes you're doing it with music, because we know that, thank you, Sue, out in St. Louis, for giving me that information. Baroque type of music creates a synchronization within the rhythm patterns, helps that heart brain get into synchronization. A lot of the individuals at HeartMath, Doc Childry was a musician, and Howard Martin, a lot of these guys, and so they knew that music had an impact on the heart. And we all know that somebody that's a creative musician, we all say it, man, they've got heart. And you can't be very stressed and incoherent and come up with good creative music or play good music. And so it's kind of interesting to see that happening. But so oftentimes when a person is going through the heart focus, heart breathing, heart feeling, and getting that emotional connection, their brain and their heart starts to synchronize. Their heart rate variability starts to go into that sine wave pattern, and they oftentimes have music that they don't oftentimes, they have it attached. You don't have to listen to the music, but they have it attached to the program where you can listen to Doc Childry's music that really helps that synchronization. It's not an entertaining type of music, although it's not difficult to listen to, but they're not putting the music on there for rapping to the coherence wave or something like that. It's designed to help get that heart brain and synchronization. So the question that I have, I think Joan was asking, is where can I access the survey? And I was just going.
Oh, Doc, she has it. She was able to find it.
Oh, okay.
Find out.
Okay.
Someone wants you to put up the slide that says change in heart rate, speed changes the chemical response in the body, blah, blah, blah. It works like a pill. I guess that's Bill's slide, the Bill's quote they wanted you to see, to put up.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of it. Actually, I probably should have gone back to the view of, I don't see all the screens, so I'm hoping I'm not going to go past it.
And there's someone on who is saying that I'm a HeartMath provider. This is great, but why aren't you sharing the HeartMath techniques and tools that let one move into coherence, such as heart lock and etc.?
Yeah, well, one of the things that I mentioned is it's not a training, and it's designed typically to, when a person is actually going through that process, that's part of the training process when you actually teach a person, if you're going to be doing a one-on-one session, which obviously this is not, and we're not group teachers, we're not group trainers, and so typically that's what happens when you do it from that one-on-one position. Yeah, those are very important techniques to be able to. We went through just basically giving people a touch, a little taste of what this is all about, and so it's one of the things that our instructor said when you're doing a presentation. For one thing, again, it's not a group training. There are specifics that you can do when you're group trained. And this is not a group training, so that's one of the things that I talked about at the very outset of this. And let's see if I can find that.
I think it's towards the end. I think you're going back towards the center.
Okay.
Okay. Let me check up some other questions that people are looking at. Where do we get the EM-Wave PC and how much does it cost?
Yeah, I mentioned that it's about $300, the M-Wave PC, and as a one-on-one provider. we can bring that cost down a little bit. I think it's somewhere in the 15 to 20% zone.
Okay. All right. Any more questions? Someone's asking about the second ebook that you mentioned.
One of the things that, let's see, let's go back to that. That last reference page. Yeah, the Science of the Heart.
The Science of the Heart. Okay.
Yeah, and one of my favorite ones is the Transforming Stress. It's not an ebook, but it's a nice little booklet. There's also a workbook of the same title, and that's one of my more popular ones for patients that I take people through. And again, we can do it through the telephonic one-on-one thing, and that's something that we need to connect up with. If a person is wanting to question, I think there was a question about what we charge as one-on-one providers. It depends on, if they're going to buy a particular program, if they want to buy the short one, the 1 hour version, if they're going to do the full 4 hour voice to heart intelligence, if they are going to be buying any hardware, if they're going to do the personal stress reliever, that's all variable, and so we can make some quotes if a person wants to just email me.
Great. Let me see what else. I guess the slide the person was looking for is in the next one. The next slide, maybe 2 or so. About Bill.
Yeah, that's the one. I'll just leave that one up for a little bit there. That's the last slide right there.
Okay.
And
okay. Well, I guess this pretty much covers it.
There's a question on hypertension, and there is a HeartMath approach to managing hypertension. It's a little booklet that Dr. Childrey put out along with Bruce Wilson. Bruce Wilson is the cardiologist he's worked as a consultant with Institute of HeartMath. Bruce Wilson came down and did a workshop in Denver, and so that answers that question. It definitely, they've noticed that tension and stress in the nervous system will cause constriction not only in the vascular system, but it affects the sympathetics, and that's part of the autonomic nervous system that constricts those blood vessels down. So they've noticed that it does have an impact on blood pressure.
Mm.
So yeah, if those individuals who want to, you go on HeartMath, you go on heartmath.org, or actually go on heartmath.com, and you can look at the MYPC, you can look at the PSR units, the portable, we call it the portable unit, and there's going to be retail prices there, and like I mentioned, we can get them at a better cost because we're one-on-one providers.
Well, Doc, I think
yeah,
go ahead.
oh, sorry, David. One of the Joan, I think, was saying, look forward to taking the test. Thanks for the webinar. That test was, it's just a very revealing thing, and I would definitely encourage everybody to go on that test, go on heartmath.org and just look at the general overview, and then go on heartmath.org/research, and on the left-hand side, take that personal, the stress and well-being, and it's all private. Nobody's going to share it with anybody. It's, again, just between you and the computer. And it's a very revealing test. It does take a little bit of time. It takes maybe 12 to 15 minutes or so. And but it's pretty cool because it's a fairly comprehensive test that, and then, of course, what's nice about it is it's specific then to your areas. You'll see a chart. It's kind of like a dashboard type of thing, and you'll see, oh my gosh, I got 2 or 3 areas that I need to work on. The other ones are in pretty good shape, and it gives you a total overall score, but then it has suggestions. Well, what do you do for this one? And then you click on that, and it gives you either a specific book or a specific technique that you can do to help out in that area. Then you can work on that for a while, 2-3 months or whatever, and then come back and repeat that test for free. So that's pretty cool.
Well, I think everybody should take the opportunity to check out, to do the test at the heartmath.org site.
Yep.
That'll be a good thing to know about. Well, great. Well, Doc, this has been great, and there have been a few thank yous coming in to say thank you so much, and including the person who is a HeartMath provider herself. She said, "Great answer." And
well, good. I'm glad. I know it's. I think it's important to maintain good community, and whenever we go back to and we haven't been back often enough because Leslie and I just love that community, and we just had a great time going through the training. And anybody that has any interest in health and wellness, I think they would love the technology just in personal application. But if you it's going to take a couple $1,000, with airfare and hotel and things like that. But what a great place to go, right in the heart of the redwoods, and go there for a 3-day intensive. And it does take some preliminaries, some prerequisites to be able to do that. And you can either email me or you can contact the Institute of Heart Math, and they'll tell you what all is required for that.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. A few thank yous have come in again. So, Dr. Steve, again, as always, we appreciate what you do to help us, to support us, and to provide this great information that you do.
Okay, David, thank you.
Thank you. And folks, thank you for joining us. You have a great evening, and we shall see you sometime later. Again, we have an affiliate meeting tomorrow, so if you would like to know how to make some extra money by helping to promote what we do, just send us an email. We shall include you in the presentation in the webinar tomorrow. All right, good night, and God bless.